Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Dean Callan Show. Oh, I still said good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, people of the human race. We were just discussing, I try not to say good morning, ladies and gentlemen, because if I do... Good morning, Steve, where is that coming from? Good morning, people of the human race. We were just discussing, yeah. Wow. Yeah, so the cabin's being weird today, as it always is. You know what? Today I'm live with Jenna Ba from Bullet. We're going to chat about Brooklyns and stuff. We tried to get audio set up for a while. It's actually really embarrassing that I do this every single time. But I'm not going to waste any more time. We're bringing Jenna in. Jenna, how are you doing?
Hey, good.
I'm going to pour us a Guinness. Do you mind?
Perfect. No,
Oh,
about time because like it's been special.
It has been special. This last 5 minutes has been extremely special, I think. Right.
Yeah, I mean, I realized that being a one-man show, it's a bit of a circus.
It is definitely a bit of a circus. But like that thing works every time I don't need it to work. And then every time I need it to work, it doesn't work. And honestly, I'm not doing anything different.
It's this AI fighting against you.
It's got AI. It's got AI. It hates me, but I'm killing it. That the Evo 4, in case anyone's interested, 2 in, 2 out apparently. Nah, no out, just 2 in. Right. I'm now going to go and figure out where the hell is this one coming from.
Facebook.
There we go. Yeah, it's working. We have everything working. How are you? How have you been?
I'm good, and I'm gonna be even better after these another minutes until like the Guinness settles. And,
Yeah, we do have I might pour some water as well, because we've been
nice.
rushing about trying to get ourselves ready for all this time. You know?
Yeah, but yeah. World Cocktail Day.
It's World Cocktail Day! Yeah, it's getting hot in here. World Cocktail Day. So yeah, it's really funny because I used to have to explain to people that there was such a thing as World Cocktail Day. And I think I might have been, a bit early in my celebrations of World Cocktail Day. People didn't care as much about cocktails back then. Yeah, I can see it. They really had no interest in cocktails. I was in Brisbane, Australia, and people would come in and they'd be like, mate, I'm not drinking cocktails. And then I'd force them, if they wanted a beer, they'd have to have a shot next to it. And I'd be like, Boilermaker, cocktail. So I found a way to make everything I sold that night a cocktail. Cheers. Well,
Cheers.
We'll wait for the Guinness. Right.
Still a cocktail.
It's still a cocktail. A Boilermaker I was counting as a cocktail. So, but by the end of the night, I had all those people who were like, not into the cocktail thing, just kind of go, oh, okay, I'll try a cocktail.
I mean, if a Boilermaker and a pickleback is a cocktail.
And I was trying to explain to them that like they drink beer, right? But actually, if they drink an old fashioned, they're basically taking beer that's it's more bitter than a normal beer would be. So if they like IPA, then that makes sense, right? But imagine the concentrated bitters that comes in a little dasher bottle, right? That you would normally get you might get in hops in beer, but nowhere near in the level that you get in non-potable bitters. And then we take the beer, and if you took beer and distilled it and then aged it in oak for a while, you'd effectively have whiskey, right? But it wouldn't be as sweet as beer is, because beer has more sugar in it. So we add some sugar back in, and I'm like, an old fashioned is just concentrated beer. And I was just bullshitting people like that the whole night. So I could sell cocktails. That's what it used to be.
Did it work?
Yeah.
Good.
Well,
did it work as in were they coming back after and being like, okay, so kind of had a beer cocktail?
They started drinking cocktails, and then they kept like coming back to cocktails actually once they'd started.
Amazing.
It was quite nice. But it wasn't a busy night. I can't remember what night it actually was, but it was definitely an early weeknight in Brisbane. It's not London.
And the Shamrock is on point.
Yeah, I still like doing shamrocks, even though it's kind of a taboo in with a lot of people. We'll give it another little second. Yeah, World Cocktail Day. So we're going to celebrate today with cocktails. Like I can still hear, there must be another version of this open somewhere. Can you still hear that?
Yeah, in the other browser, because you have another window
Mute.
behind.
Boom. We did it. We did it.
Sweet vermouth.
That shouldn't be playing the sound back as the monitor, you know? Yeah, it's a bit of a mess. Right, and you can see, so you do me a favor, right? I'm gonna make that full screen, and you're able to see, that's a blurred, not so high res version, but you're able to see what the feed's doing, right? Oh, maybe.
Oh, it's me, but there's a loop. I get it.
All right, and we've got chat. Here we go. Rock and roll. We're all set up. Can't find on Facebook, but probably I'm searching for the wrong channel. Diogo, it should be on all the channels on Facebook, but Facebook was being really weird. So it's on my personal, and that was Monday Nights at Press Club. Exactly, Monday Nights at Press Club. That's exactly where I was. It was Press Club. Yeah, how cool is it that Richie's watching? Someone from the bar that I was just chatting about. That's epic. Yeah, how crazy is that?
Small word.
Yeah, right. Oh, here we go.
So,
oh, sweet.
I never know where is the line, on the E or in between the harp and the G.
I try to get it in the middle of the E. So like, you know, you have the E.
That's the Homeboy style.
And then that's the Irish style. What are you talking about, Homeboy style?
Well, I spend more time in Homeboy than in Ireland. So.
Homeboy's the premier London Irish bar.
Shame.
Oh, I second guessed myself. Terrible. Look, actually, if you put both of ours together,
the average,
right? They kind of they're in the dead center of the Guinness sign. If we were to do that, can you see that?
Yep.
Yeah, like the average of them is good. You're too short, and I've gone too far. But together, we get it just right. Okay, happy days.
There we go.
It makes you think about the Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Like Goldilocks, too hot, too cold, just right, right?
Do you know there's different versions of that? Like,
I'd be like,
is it from a liberalist perspective, from a communist
Is there?
Yeah.
I did not
really
know
cool.
that.
It's almost like a political philosophy funny thing.
I see, my philosophy is, I'd be like, ooh, too hot. Ooh, too cold. Just right, right?
And that's a mixer and a blender mindset.
That's how I operate. I make things nice. Yeah, so where were we? Like, I actually, just for the record, I actually wrote down some questions for you because I wanted to be official. I'm trying to get better on the channel, and be a bit more like legit, if that's the correct word for it. So I've got like some official questions, if you don't mind. You can peek at them when we do Mitch's Minute, but for now I'm gonna set them up here like I'm at the pass. Right. So number one, Jenna, where did you first get your start in the industry?
I mean, there's been gigs and gigs, but I worked in a place that's massive, about massive, 10,000 people.
10,000 people?
Yeah. Well, I was not making drinks for all of them.
God.
Yeah, privilege.
That's the biggest. That's the hugest venue I've never heard of a place with 10,000 capacity nightclub.
It's massive.
I need to go to those places before I get too old. Am I too old to go to those places already? How old do you need to?
No, they're still gonna ID you.
Okay, great. Winning. Yeah, so 10,000 capacity. Were you working as a bartender?
Yeah, but like it was like Scotch and soda, whiskey Coke.
That's the best.
Rum and Coke, vodka tonic.
I love that. Did you have post-mix guns?
We had those as well, but we had like bottles.
Okay.
There were like so many bars, obviously.
Yeah. It's a lot of work to have post-mix guns in 10,000 capacity venue. Yeah.
But it was fun, you know. There was like this big night called Manumission, which like got stopped after a while. And still remember, I was like, how can this be so big?
Yeah.
Like 25 meters ceiling, you know. And yeah, actually Freddie Mercury filmed a video, Barcelona. Was like this, it's like this rock opera.
Yeah.
And it's filmed in Privilege. Sick.
Wow.
But I didn't really learn much in there, yeah.
No, but that's
how to navigate a crowd.
how to navigate a crowd is
Yeah.
super important. Like when I used to work in a super massive nightclub, but I thought it was super massive, but it had a couple of thousand capacity, and it had a few different four or five different floors, 5 different floors technically, but 4 open to the public, and it was called Spirit. And the bottom floor had like no music, just people, like no amplified music, just people singing, but like Acapulco and stuff, like or with like a little instrument, and it had no alcohol. And on one side of the place, and it was all cushions and stuff, people lying around just being high. And at one side of the place there was like a big like juice board, like you'd get at a greengrocer, and there was a girl who would juice, so you'd get like freshly juice. And then the next floor was like a pub, but it had a cinema in it. And then the next floor was a cocktail bar.
Where is this building?
It was in Ireland. It was epic. It was part owned by a guy who owned a Formula One team, and then there was a level above that kind of looked down on everything, and then there was a little like long walkway with a sheer drop 2 stories down onto like the dance floor. And when you cross the walkway, it was like 25 meter. Well, maybe I'm exaggerating. Maybe it was 6 or 8 meters, but it felt really long. There was an office with a massive oak table, and the owner would have parties in there as well. It was pretty cool. And Prince played there. I served him a water. Yeah, it was really cool. I was like, Prince is coming? Prince, really? And then he played, and I was like, wow, Prince is amazing.
We were selling a lot of water in Privilege as well.
Yeah, we were selling a lot of water. But it was like, well, 20 years ago. So we had Sasha and Seb Fontaine and, you know, DJs like, exactly. Digweed was the next one I was about to say. We had all those kind of like big name DJs come through. It was really cool, but it got closed down for drugs. Yeah. What can you do?
I don't know. I'm having Guinness when I'm in Ireland. Everything's nice and safe. Beautiful.
I am now, like that sort of, but those were the days, you know?
It was nice to like navigate
a lot of
the crowd,
fun.
but then I came to London and it was like really different. I got a job in a rum pub with like rum cocktails in Hammersmith. But imagine this, I still remember that there was a Mai Tai with a strange number after it, and it had like 12 ingredients, and some of them had 7.5 mils, and I was just so frustrated.
Oh. But they didn't pre-batch it?
No.
Like, oh, that's
I was just constantly
evil.
frustrated. Like, these are never going to be the same. And you just build for disappointment in a way.
All right.
But it was like quite cool because I met one of my best friends. I didn't stay long in there. But I still remember the first time somebody asked me for a shandy. A shandy? Like, and I had no idea what it is. So I thought like, oh my God, this is this super obscure cocktail from like Don the Beachcombers unpublished yet book. And I remember I had this like Nokia A51 or some like phone without a camera really, but was connecting to it. I was like, how do I like pretend that I need to get some ice, and I go and try to Google this shandy.
Oh no.
And then when you realize it's just like lemonade and beer, you're like,
yeah. I had someone ask me for a G&T on my like second shift, and I mean I was a bourbon drinker. You know, when I was 17, I was drinking Booker's and Baker's, and I was
so when you were 18 and a day, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I moved out of home when I was very young, so like, and technically speaking, at a house party, if there's adults on site, you're allowed. This is in Australia. You're allowed to start drinking at like 16 and a half or something like that. If you were under the supervision of an adult on a private property. Like, you weren't allowed to sell alcohol to a minor, but if an adult was around, the minor was allowed to like indulge a little bit. That was the law as far as I knew it back in those days. So there were a lot of house parties happening.
But I mean, it's very different, no? There are like, I think, places where minimum drinking age is seen as like 25 or something.
Is there?
Yeah, I heard. I don't really remember exactly where, but I bet if there's somebody on this feed is going to tell us. But I think that there are some countries where like, and I was like 25.
Somebody Google what is which country has the oldest minimum drinking age? Because that's actually interesting. I wonder who has the youngest. Maybe
probably there's some places where
there's probably like Russia.
I don't know.
Because Russia, they only just like in the last 10 years counted beer as alcohol. Beer was not included
So
in
what was
alcohol.
like beer, bread?
Beer is bread. Beer is just wet bread. It's exactly the bread is just a loaf of beer. That's all it is. You know that, right? Like it's true. It's true. Anyway, that's my belief. I'm gonna get a T-shirt. Bread is just a loaf of beer.
Well, sometimes when I try to explain like mashed beans to people, I talk about you make bread and you pick your grains.
Yeah. Imagine if you were making bread and you put way too much water. And then it kind of like you were waiting for the water to evaporate, but it became fermented because yeast had started eating the sugars, right? And then you seen it bubbling and you're like, oh, and you tasted it and it tasted good.
But not as good as Guinness.
Not as good as Guinness. No, Guinness is a masterpiece. Guinness. So drink Guinness for strength, like a toucan.
These
I'd
are
be
all
terrible.
things that
I'd be terrible at coming up.
Yeah?
I'd be terrible at coming up with an advertising campaign for Guinness.
That's politically correct and within responsible drinking scenarios.
Yeah, nothing. Well, it's how long can things be politically
I say
correct?
drink Guinness for the strength of friendships.
There you go. Here, cheers to that. We should immediately stop trying to come up with advertising campaigns for Guinness. We're probably going to get in trouble. Someone will be watching.
Bartenders, natural copywriters, no?
Yeah. That's what I wanted to do when I was a kid. Either a military / like police medivac helicopter pilot. Kind of specific, but I pictured myself flying through skyscrapers and like saving people's lives, like get in, and
you're
like
playing way too many computer games.
That was one of the things. Like, the other was copywriter, so write ads, and the other was bartender. There were the three things. I was like, they were my job roles. And actually, when I was like 12, 13, I had a whole bunch of ads that I'd come up with for big brands like McDonald's and stuff like that.
I'm gonna work for Leo.
Yeah, I'm gonna design ads for McDonald's. And you know what? Screw all the like hamburger and having a playground and being a family restaurant. They're not family restaurants. So my idea was like there'd be cinematic video of like people landing on Mars for the first time and red dust is flying past the camera and the guy's got like a, spacesuit on and all they can see is red dust and they come out and we're moving towards the thing and then you see this yellow shimmering light and as they get closer it starts to like become more of a M-shaped shimmering light and then suddenly out of nowhere two doors open up and the astronauts go inside and they close behind and a vacuum sucks all the dust out and then two more doors open and they go inside and there's a girl behind a counter and she says, "Hi, welcome to McDonald's," and then it goes, "McDonald's, we're everywhere."
Like
right?
McDonald's, you're the stalker, and like McDonald's, and with the Martian, and everything happens in Dune or something.
No, the idea was that like there'd be a series of ads where it ends with McDonald's, we're everywhere. Like they go to the bottom of the deepest trench for the first time, James Cameron style, and then when they get down there, there's a McDonald's, a submerged McDonald's.
It's not too late, you know.
Yeah, but the idea was instead of having the mentality that McDonald's is a family-friendly restaurant, you just give people the mindset that McDonald's is everywhere. So when someone's hungry and they don't know the area and they're like, "Oh, what can we eat? Oh, there's got to be a McDonald's around here," because in their head they've been told McDonald's, we're everywhere.
Okay,
McDonald's,
so let's go back to like the bar I worked after.
Right. So where were we? How you got your start in the industry? So you were working in cocktail bar in London.
Well, yeah, it wasn't really. It was a pub with like a gastro pub with a cocktail program kind of thing.
Yeah.
Program. I can't believe I used that word.
Ignore what I'm doing.
Yeah, it didn't really last long because it was a long journey from where I was living to Hammersmith and night buses, and then I went to a place called the International, which is just like by St. Martin's Lane on the corner.
Yeah.
And it was great because La Perla was in one side, the lab was on the other side.
Oh wow, that's a good spot to be.
Yeah, so
that's like, super cool.
And we were open. We had the crazy, like these happy hours when you have like 2-for-1 things.
Yeah.
And you're just like churning.
And you've got that moment of getting prepared, and then, bam, you get hit, and it's super busy, and you pump.
Trafalgar Square is
But
busy.
volume bartending is the best.
Yeah.
People should appreciate volume bartending a little bit
Then
more.
they closed it, like CJ Restaurants, like really cool company. Actually, a lot of people I work with right now have worked for the same company. And then we're like, okay, you gotta move to another venue, which was Dirty Martini in Covent Garden.
Ah, a lot of people I know have worked at Dirty
Yeah.
Martini. Did you get upgraded to Dirty Martini? Is that their like
Well,
flagship
no, they closed
cocktail
this
place?
venue,
Okay.
which was like really cool. I actually really enjoyed it. And then they closed it. And Dirty Martini is like, it's really dark and underground.
Yeah.
And I just had this like kind of epiphany to say. I was like, well, if I have to work in a dark basement, it better be tiki.
Yeah. I thought you were about to say milk and honey.
No. And actually, I wrote like a cold, but like in an email, Papa Jules, being like, oh, I've got some great tiki shirts. Because like in my mind it was like, if I have great tiki shirts, he's gonna at least want to meet me to see how great I'm tiki shirts.
But that's a good opening. You should have just gone in and had a few drinks and then said to the bartenders, I want to work here.
But I didn't know, because it was kind of this place like Rihanna who goes in there, and I'm like, they're never gonna let me in, you know? Like,
yeah. It had that reputation. When was this? Was it like
2009?
Yeah, wow. So that's when I got to London, and I went straight to Mahiki because it had such a big reputation.
But you just got in.
I didn't realize it would be difficult to get in. I was by myself. I just went and got in.
Maybe.
God.
I'm an overthinker, you know. So
I'm like stupidly confident sometimes.
Good.
Like blind confidence. They must have been like, who is this guy?
I don't know. I wrote an email. I did it like the nice classic. Hi, Jules. I have great tiki shirts.
That's the coolest thing. I have great tiki shirts.
And he said, yeah, come down. And it was literally, I think Stephenson said, you know, like, we know that there are sometimes some companies and moments in time which are almost like talent breeding academies.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. They had, but there's a
like
pool
Georgie
of
Ryan
people
was
brought together at the same time. Joe Wood was working there.
Alex
Luca
Luca
Cinali was there. Who else was there?
Smith was actually I got to work with after.
And Danny Smith was there.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's
yeah.
And then Jose Manuel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that was God.
Yeah.
Like going back and taking a snapshot of that moment. 2009, there were a lot of amazing bartenders in London. It was a good time. So did you get the job at Mahiki?
So I kind of got a bit afraid because I remember like the ceiling being really low and Alex Muzuriz was like throwing some fire and I was
blowing
like,
fire all the time.
My hair is gonna I'm gonna get bored.
I am a fire hazard. That's so good.
But Jules and Miguel, they were really cool and like, look, we're opening this place which is more speakeasy but like kind of thing, and it's in South Kent, and yeah, come and take a test to see if you're good.
Work with us. Yeah.
We can work together. And it's like 50, 60 questions, and some of them were like ridiculous to like see if someone's a bullshitter.
Yeah.
Because like I remember one of the questions was like, can you tell us the secret ingredients in Angostura bitters? Like, well, no. No, it's not. Yeah, but smart of them not to like actually see who are just.
I probably actually would have gone, it's rum.
Knowing Jules, it would have worked.
It's rum, and then in brackets, possibly cinnamon. Possibly. Question mark.
I got the job.
You got the job?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
You only got behind the bar.
And where was that? Where?
So it was called the Brompton Club. It was part of Brompton brand. So we had like another one, Mahiki, and it was cool. Like Miguel's made blessing because like he actually found my corner. Because you know people wonder like it's a new opening. We're not gonna get girls because they can't carry that much and like that's needed. But it was like
they can't carry that much.
That was this. And yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely not true. Like,
I don't understand how boys' clubs work.
it was
I'm a
that
weirdo like
kind
that.
of set me up for like being a bit nosy about everything else after, because our team was mega diverse. We stayed free as like zero turnover behind the bar. We had such an ethic, like everybody was sharing the tips, everybody was making the same amount of
Everyone
money.
cared for each
we
other.
were just working hard. Like I didn't even realize that there might be an issue with like diversity at the time, because we had from Mongolia to Peru, from all colors, all genders, all ideas. And that's what
cool.
kept us together for like so long, and we still like chatting all the time.
Because there was no one thing that kind of overbalanced and kind of set everybody else off, if that makes sense.
No, and it was good because you had this like restaurant part of it where like all of the French waiters like trying to like sell their
champagne, champagne, champagne.
Like, no,
tips,
no,
tips,
no.
tips, 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 tips.
Daiquiris.
Yeah.
Mr. Juice daiquiri, she's olive daiquiri.
Oh, nice.
But then it was becoming the club, and I was always like, Miguel Smith was like, you should be able to like work like Steve Snyder on the go, but carry 4 glasses in your hand while you're like pouring on top of them.
Oh no.
I'm like, Miguel, your hand is double my
Yeah. That's not fair. Like, look at that.
But
you got like normal size
you
hands.
know, I was doing well with 3. Ultimately, just gotta be faster.
Yeah, yeah, move quicker. But did they not have build stations?
Well, it was so busy, and the bars was like, because this venue was like, how do we maximize space? Like,
we have someone,
you should have seen
a
the
float
bar.
station.
It was super tiny, and with the barbecs and with the machines, we don't really have a pantry, and like the dishwasher was right behind.
Yeah.
And then it was like me, Julien Lafont, Yassine, the loads of like the guys. It was tight, but it was good. It was really good because we had like blocks of ice at the time, and we were making our own like Bellini mix, and I learned to ferment in there. And sometimes at 4 a.m. after closing, we were going to New Covent Garden Market in Vauxhall.
Yeah, nice.
To actually understand the whole supply chain.
Yeah.
And how different limes.
And that would have been like Soul Fruit's time, right? Was Soul Fruit still around then?
I think so. I'm not entirely
because the guys, I think it was 2010, the guys from Soul Shaker set up Soul Fruits, and Kevin Armstrong was going to markets, and he was bringing people to the markets early in the morning and showing them how to pick the best fruit. Like, what happened to that? Bring that back. That's amazing.
When you look at the camera.
Yeah, like guys, bring it back. Bring it. Someone needs to bring that back. I don't know how to bring that back. I'm not that good at picking fruit. I'll eat the fruit. But I don't know that much about it. That's epic that they were doing that. That's
and
super
maybe
good.
Understanding Brazilian limes compared to Mexican limes.
Yeah, exactly.
And, case, and which one you use for garnish, which one you use for juicing. Yeah.
Yep, that's soul fruits. That's a soul fruit kind of mentality. That's so cool. And then what happened from there?
So 2012, I was like doing my master and everything. And I was like, there's certain amount of time when a team has zero turnover and everything like that.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, it's time to like.
Then it all just splits up. Like.
Yeah, kind of. And I think we had like a new GM that kept on wanting like green Bloody Marys for like the brunch. Our brunches were like super cool, but there's no way we can do
green Bloody Marys. Like, what does he mean by green?
By green tomatoes.
I'm assuming it's a guy.
Have you seen the cost on green tomatoes?
Oh, I see.
And I was like studying as well, so it was like quite a commitment to do all that. And I was like,
yeah,
actually, I want to do events.
So you started in events?
Yeah, Sweet and Chili.
Oh, Sweet and Chili, yeah, they're good. So you've had
fun.
That's a storied career already. That's insane. And how much? And what were you doing for Sweet and Chili?
So like starting with like bartending. I think actually, first time I went, they almost did like this internal little competition to like it was like something like you gotta make a mojito. I was like, great. I was like, okay, clearly there is a catch in here, you know.
There's something going on.
I need to test all of the ingredients because maybe what I think is sugar is actually gonna be salt. You know, people are testing because I always say, if you don't know that bar, taste everything.
Yep, I agree. I had that in a bartending competition once where they introduced me to the station. They told me you're not going to know what you're going to have to make. And there were some judges, esteemed judges. And when they introduced me to the station, this was the thing that got me. They said, here are fresh limes. So you can cut the limes and juice them fresh. There's a like Mexican elbow, as they called it at the time. I still don't know the appropriate word for that. If that is,
changed?
I don't know. I'm still waiting to find out. So there was an elbow lime squeezer, and a chopping board and limes. But he then said, and here, you know, in the cold part of the station, is freshly pressed lime juice we pressed a couple of hours ago, right? Right. So that's now this is in Australia. So lime juice is more expensive than rum by a long shot, like a lot. It's like $2 for one lime in the summertime, right? So I'm like, oh, I see what they're trying to do here. They're trying to get me to juice the fresh lime rather than use the juice lime, which will have to be thrown out at the end of the day. So I'm not understanding that the company is juicing the lime for use. When that runs out, I then revert back to juicing by hand, right? Because otherwise this gets thrown out, and that's 50 quid that goes down the sink. So I'm getting tested on my capacity to understand GP, right? And profits and loss and wastage. So I use that. And then afterwards, one of the judges were like, why? You did everything perfect, except you should have just used why didn't you juice the lime fresh? Like, why did you use the bottled lime juice? I'm like, they said they just juiced it. They hand juiced it. Yeah. And I'm like, but if they've hand juiced it and I don't use it, it goes to wastage and that costs the company money. I thought that was the test. And he was like, oh, I didn't look at it from that point of view. And I was like, what? So I got it wrong. I misunderstood. I was meant to use that. And that was a test. And he was pointing it out that it was a test.
Do the milk and honey.
But I'm like, milk and honey, you pre-juice.
Yeah, there was
for speed.
About fresh.
But I mean, fresh is okay for a few hours. Like it's not going to kill it. If it's just being juiced. In fact, a bit of oxidization kind of opens it up a little bit. And also, if you're juicing one lime and you get one bad lime, and it's a little bit too tart, and the next one's much sweeter, then you've got two completely different daiquiris. But if you juice a whole bottle of limes, you get a consistency throughout the night. So it's the same throughout the night, right?
I mean, depends what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, I was trying to win. I lost. Yeah, where were we? I'm losing myself here. It's difficult with structured questions.
And events was about batching.
Yes.
So I got really happy because
Yeah, that's. But you went right into the deep end of the cocktail part with people who are uber cocktail geniuses. Like Manuel went on to work Milk and Honey, right?
Yeah.
And went back into classics from Tiki, which is like the opposite that I'd done. I went from Milk and Honey to Kanaloa. Like we swapped.
You've been in Kanaloa?
Yeah, I was the
I used to love going there just to see Luca Chinati.
I was the co-head bartender at Kanaloa. So when you went to see Luca, did Luca has his own weird station at the end of the bar where he had like a curtain he could put down?
He had that, but then at the same time he was sometimes on the right as you get in.
Okay, so that's after I left. But I built his station for him down the end, like because he was like, I'm retiring from bartending, I'm going home, I'm going to live with my family and like open a restaurant with my brother. And I was like, no, man.
His brother was working with us.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Head of prep,
he's amazing.
Yeah,
love him to bits. He's absolutely amazing. But again, he was about to leave and I was like, oh, no. And it was because the station was too short and he was like hurting his back in dispense. So I pulled the station apart at nighttime and rebuilt it so that it was like taller and it was more his style. And he then brought in like clotheslines to hang things, and it was really cool.
Make it cozy.
Yeah, made it cozy, and everyone wanted to work in there, and that was like, nah, this is Luca's spot. Yeah, I was there. Me and Joe Woods were like co-head bartenders for a while. It was fun, but I didn't last very long.
Because I don't really remember what I met. You just bump into people.
It might have been parties.
You're like, oh hey.
But we kept bumping into each other all over the place. Yeah. It was right. So Sweet and Chili. How did you get from Sweet and Chili to where you are now?
I guess I don't think I started to like whiskey, fruited, and chili. Because it's funny, like the first time I remember being like, oh, I quite like this idea about whiskey was around the Valentine's Day, and one of my friends got dumped, and I was like, scrap this whole idea of like Valentine's. We're gonna create another celebration, and it's gonna be called Valentine's Day.
All right, Valentine's Day. That's awesome.
It was awesome. It stayed a semi-tradition.
Yeah.
And then, actually, when I was working for Brompton Brands, at some point, just after Ciroc got launched and we were like quite a big one with Mahiki, with everything, we had this training at the Diageo in Park Royal. And that's when I met Colin Dunn.
Oh, nice. He's a legend. He is a legend.
And back then, the head office was like, it's going to be gone now, so this is like history. That's it. They had the bar on the 6th floor. And we went there for a tasting. And Colin Dunn was having some portellen and some kaulila.
Yeah, nice.
And really made us be like, that's when I thought like, oh my God, this idea of ambassador can be amazing. I never thought it fit for me because like, look at whiskey ambassadors and look at me.
Exactly. Well, like whiskey ambassadors at the time.
Yeah.
Like
but like we
10,
are in
10 years
now,
ago, yeah, 2010, everyone was like a blazer and either dressed in full suit or it was like a suit blazer, a shirt, and then like jeans, you know?
Not
there was
Colin. Colin was cool.
Colin was cool. Colin's always been cool.
He said, okay, this distillery is closed.
It's gone.
You only get to taste this if you climb on the table. Because you gotta get, or even it tastes better on altitude. That's why we're on the 6th floor. Like if you get this extra.
He's so good. He's so good.
And I've done it. And before I was kind of very much into rum.
Yeah.
Because it's just like kind of you just learn spirits and rum is culturally
right
so
there,
cool
yeah.
and you identify with it and it's so accessible in a way, you know. And then I was like, ooh, I like this kaolin thing.
Yeah.
How do I get more of this?
It gets addictive as well. It's like I made this comparison last week about cycling. There's how many bikes do you need to own if you're a cyclist? And there's a formula. It's called N+1. So N is the number of bikes you currently have. Plus one. So you always want another bike, right? And it's kind of like I don't know if it's meant to be a joke. I'm not a proper cyclist. It's supposed to be an excuse, yeah. But the same for whiskey, you know? Like, do you really need another whiskey in your collection?
Yes.
Like, yes, you do. You need another whiskey. Like, so it's that kind of N+1. The number of whiskeys you currently have plus one, or how many is the right amount that you can have at any one time, N+1. You know, the number you have plus one more. You can always fit one more, unless you have to like fill all the shelves in here. You know, behind all those books, it's all booze. It gets a bit.
But I mean, maybe you need to like create like a little mini bunker just for bottles.
Next house we buy, next house we'll dig down. It'll be fun. I'll be like, I'm going to the cellar, but actually there'll be a set of stairs.
Loads of bars.
It'll be cool.
Like that,
yeah, the old school bars.
And always afraid that like, oh, if somebody doesn't,
yeah,
we're just gonna fall down into the trap.
Right. So you applied for your job as you were inspired by Colin.
Yeah, I mean, Colin was awesome, and then it was just a bit of like kind of, oh, I'm gonna discover flavor in whiskey, and then let's go. I really like Lagavulin, but actually really like I've always kind of fed with bourbon in a way.
Yeah.
It's just kind of the image, the flavor, it just worked.
Yeah.
And then Richard and Chile was quite nice because you were getting to doing events and understand brand activation, like
exactly
across the board, and see how sometimes swanky bartender drinks not really popular. No,
that's not what guests want most of the time.
Yeah. And our job is to like get them happy.
Yeah, make people happy. Well, I guess like if you come from the cocktail bartending, people go to a cocktail bar knowing that they're searching out those, 0.09% of the industry's kind of high-end cocktail. But when you go to an event, you're there for the event.
Yeah.
That's the event is the purpose rather than the drink being the specific cocktail bar
events
being the purpose.
Cool. I love events. And these events.
I used to work.
Festivals.
I used to work for Bacardi, and they'd always be like, "What cocktails are we going to serve?" And I'm like, "Mojito, daiquiri, Cuba Libre, and maybe one or two different drinks."
I remember having, mint hands.
Yeah. I once, we picked so much mint. I once got 3 1-kilo bags of mint, right? And then got the 3 guys to count how many mint leaves were in a kilo of mint. And the average was like 880 or something.
So cruel?
We had time. We had spare time. But I had to know. Like, that's the only way to know. How many mint leaves do you get from a kilo of mint, right?
Oh, yeah. Actually, I got to like second Andrea. Funny, because like at the time I never feel like, oh, I'm gonna then have like the stress in which people are like, oh, you would have done Andrea. I'm like, no, I'm just somebody else.
Yeah. Andrea's big shoes to fill.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah, but like I got to second her when she was like on Bullet, but she was like doing training across the 4 corners of Scotland and everything around. and Ben White and the guys from Stitchley, where you like whiskey, just go like supporter and like learn stuff. So that was really, really
Yeah,
cool.
that's really cool.
Yeah. And then work class.
Yeah.
I've had a cocktail and I've never even seen myself like, oh, I'm going to win this thing. I entered to win. I was like, I have such a good cocktail. I want more people to taste it.
Yeah, exactly. And how did you do in world class?
So I got into, so I was working at Chiltern Firehouse at the time.
Yeah.
Because I was at the time, well, I did members clubs and I did clubs and I'm hyperactive.
Yeah.
So for me, being in a small venue, like, I don't know, Happiness Forget, they would kick me out because like you make too many rounds.
I'm the same. I'd start talking to people and projecting my energy out, and then the two people over there on the date would be like, "What is the bartender's problem?" Yeah, it wouldn't work for me either.
Space and high energy and busy. And
clubs.
Like,
yeah, bring back where's the cocktail clubs?
But like clubs, like but those bars that turn into a club, but there's from a cocktail venue, and then there's the transition period in which they're almost like waiters running out with the chairs and everything. And Chiltern was perfect from that perspective because you've got these like really cool whiskeys, and you've got like high-end tequila, and you've got like nice stuff. You've got a good crowd that kind of grows from a cocktail thing to like a bit.
They become a bit more like nightlife after dinner.
Bar into,
exactly.
Like, understanding how it works. So I was like, okay, this is exactly what I need at that time.
Yeah, that's super cool. Right, so I'm very conscious of something. We're halfway through, right? Or even further.
2 questions.
Yeah, and I've only done 1 question, and I'm thinking let's cut to Mitch's minute, and we'll come back and we'll make a cocktail. It's ruddy cocktail day.
Is Mitch? Where is Mitch living? Why does he look like
he's in
LA?
wakes
up? Oh, okay,
because he always he does it like in super early in the morning, or like he's done it a few times super late at night. So I'm like, I used to when lockdown first started to happen, I was calling him at like, 7 in the morning every day. I'm being like, hey man, can I get a Mitch's minute? Here's the question. And I was like waking him up and driving him to do it. That's why if you look at some of the early Mitch's minutes, there's one where Karen just recorded him asleep in bed for a minute because he wouldn't wake up.
So why don't you start the show with Good Morning Mitch? Rather than Good Morning Mitch and everyone else.
I'm still trying to figure that out. I used to say good morning, ladies and gentlemen, but like I've been trying to be more like socially conscious. So instead of saying ladies and gentlemen, I'm saying everybody. Which I messed up this time because I got so used to ladies and gentlemen, because then it includes everyone. And as we discussed, apart from, we were going to say good morning to everyone, every human being on the planet Earth. But then you pointed out that we'd be missing out on the people on the space station. Not that they're watching this. It would be cool if they were. But I think if you were on the space station and you started watching 2 people drinking Guinness, you'd start to get thirsty, right? And you'd thirst for something that
let's get to Mitch minute, but remember, like when the 17th or like terrace is open in here, everybody had a pint of Guinness on Instagram. I've closed my account for the day because I just couldn't cope.
Right, Mitch's minute. So, cut into Mitch's minute.
Oh, for like ballerina shit, Charlie Ainsbury, like nobody's ever looked sexier making cocktails than Charlie Ainsbury. But in a more selfish point of view, as somebody that's trained a lot of bartenders, seeing a bartender hit their strides for the first time, seeing them work the room for the first time, is the thing that blows my mind the most. Like when you see somebody like find their groove and start to like make the chat, and like instead of like trying to like force the conversation on people, it's just running naturally and they're just doing the thing. Drinks are flowing, they're not having to think about how their hands are moving, their hands are just moving. That's the bartender that makes me the most excited to watch. Ali Alamoto would be my other.
Right, so.
Oh my God, Daniel.
Right. So there's a delay on this screen. So here we got people telling us some answers. You have 19 countries with no minimum legal age. From 10 to 15, you have Antigua and Barbuda, Central African Republic. They can be 10 to 15 years old, right? But 19 countries with no minimum legal age. Wow, that's crazy. Right. So we were just discussing in the break. Were there any questions? You know, because obviously we like to have that interaction. But I'm seeing on here this. That's crazy. Oh no! Stop, stupid thing. Why me? All right. Yeah. So people have said stuff like "amazing to see you, Jenna," which is awesome. Yeah. Forget about that thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Danny actually used to go to La Perla.
So it's World Cocktail Day. We're gonna make a freaking cocktail, right? Now, I asked Jenna what is her favorite cocktail. Everyone knows, I think, at this stage, mine is the Manhattan, right?
Not far.
So, I mean, not far. And Jenna said her favorite cocktail was the Brooklyn, right? Now, this gets difficult because today, Brooklyn is dry vermouth in most cases. But like the oldest written reference that I could find was in a book from 1908, and it was sweet vermouth. Right, and you found, what was the website that you found? Can you bring that up?
Oh my God, yeah. So a guy called Armin from, I think, Hamburg or somewhere in Germany has this Barfathermekong blog, and he literally, he's ace, because he's got,
he sounds amazing.
He's got the type of brain of
I think I might
analyzing
know.
everything.
Yeah.
And we found this chart in which he looks like from like the first references in like the 80s. 1800s, 1900s in general, because he looks at both Manhattan, at the Martini cocktail, and at Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And he charts like how is vermouth advancing, and we
Yeah.
can almost see like what happens historically. At times,
Right.
like you see, okay, there's been prohibition, and then you're like, oh, okay.
So what?
There's been the
How do you
World
spell
War.
the website? Okay, spell it for me, and I'll put it up on a comment.
Bar, like.
So let me see. Let me put one up. So it's bar, B-A-R.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Slash line.
The dashy thing.
Yeah. Vade.
V-A-D-E.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mac. Barfathermekong.
Okay.
I'm trying to like, is there like a word that would look like this, but I don't know.
Oh.
And it's called The Guide to the History of Mixed
Where did it go?
Drinks.
Where did it go? It didn't pop up. That sucks.
Wow.
Come on, add to the show. Oh, there we go. I can see it. How do I make this bigger? Yay.
Yeah.
All right. So go.
.eu.
Anybody watching .eu. I'm going to try to change it. I'm going to add the .eu. So anyone watching, that's the thing where we found some really cool information on the Brooklyn.
It makes sense.
My process for those sorts of things is to just find the earliest reference and then like make it, and if it's nice, just kind of stick with that as much as I can.
1908 nice.
And then go to like the most modern books and go cross-reference a few books and see what people are kind of, you know, what is the expected Brooklyn today?
Yeah. I mean,
right?
these guys done quite of that. What's cool about it is that there's Spanish books written in Spanish, in German, in probably even Korean.
That's
and he took
it.
excerpts from them and he put them in there. It's quite nice to see like a copita of that, or like there's even like a book.
That's
like,
cool.
It's really cool. Yeah.
Right, now, what's yours? So tell me yours, because that's the most important thing.
So
if it's your favorite drink, you must have a recipe.
yeah, I like things dry.
Yeah.
But yeah, and quite pecan heavy. In
Okay.
a way, 'cause I just always had a sweet spot for pecan. And
So
yours is
for everyone out there, we had trouble getting pecan amer. So we had to get some from a bar.
vacuum.
Yeah, in a vacuum pack. So we're very lucky to even have it, because apparently the UK is having a shortage. I couldn't find it anywhere.
Yeah.
So what
Brexit.
would be your yeah, people said Brexit. I find that hard to believe. So what would your spec be?
So I don't know how big is your glass, because it's always like according to the coupe you have. But
So
I would say
what I'm
30,
gonna
30.
do is I'm gonna make a big one, right?
Yeah.
So I'll do your spec,
Yeah.
stir it down, and I'm gonna put it into little baby coupes.
So then
and then we can have a little one,
for one and
I'll put the other aside like a sidecar, and we can always top it up. But we can then, if we want to, make a different version, right? Twist it, play with it, and we're only having little babies.
As long as the pecan allows us.
Yeah, as long as the pecan allows us. All right.
So I'm doing 30-30 of the vermouth and the bullet rye. So
Okay.
I went for best because you know what's funny? Brooklyn is a neighborhood, yeah.
Yep.
But it comes after a city because like the Dutch into America, and there's a place near Utrecht in Netherlands called Brooklyn or something.
Yeah.
Sorry, I hope I'm not getting banned from the country for like
pronunciation.
Yeah. And it was like, okay, interesting. So there's like Dutch, and then like rye whiskey's got such a kind of
So
European
30-30,
thing.
and then.
Well, you put the red vermouth. So you made
Yeah,
your style. No,
I thought
dry
you said
vermouth,
sweet.
mate. No, I said rye and dry. But you know,
well,
you can always
look.
put it in a
So
glass on
the
side.
one I had was equal, and then a dash, right?
Yeah,
a
and then
dash each of the
maraschino as well.
Emma Pecan, and a dash of maraschino. So
it's very much
this
close
is like
to the pre-prohibition things.
this is like the earliest. Like what was it? What was the book called? Jack's something or
Jack's
other.
Drinks manual or something.
Yeah, and it's really interesting, right? I'm gonna try to load it in because I just realized I'd completely forgotten to do this. But I'm gonna try to load it into my software where I can show you a video of a file of me reading one of the old books. But in it, they have two cocktails that both have identical recipes. One of them is the Brooklyn, so first ever written reference of a Brooklyn.
And the other one?
And the other one is called the Dean, just Dean, right? Now, the Dean and the Brooklyn, in the very first ever book to reference the Brooklyn or have a recipe for the Brooklyn, are identical recipes. So hold on, and I will try to get that up.
But it was funny because we were discussing why would he have done that.
Yeah, and I was trying to figure out why he would have done that, and maybe my assumption is, bias as it may be, that the Dean was the original drink, and that he just called the same drink the Brooklyn because he really loved that drink.
Because he was Manhattan as well, and he was like,
Yeah.
how can they compete?
Right, and thought that like maybe by having the same cocktail in the book twice, but with different names, that the more popular name would survive, right?
Yeah, but then there were issues with Amer-Picon, and that everybody constantly says in all the books.
Why can't we get it?
If there would have been Amer-Picon in America, the Brooklyn would have been bigger than the Manhattan. I think even in Dave Amber's book, and it's like quite mentioned.
Really?
Yeah. Because it's delicious. I mean, we're not fighting the thing.
I'm
I'm
not
saying the
arguing
Brooklyn
that.
is just a very good dry Manhattan.
Right.
But you made it sweet.
I made it classic. Classic. I went right back to the
And
beginning.
then went equal, because actually what happens later on within, you can see in books, there's more and more.
So that
on the
worked out
whiskey
quite
side.
quite nicely.
Good
got
wash line.
a nice little baby one.
World class wash line.
Sunshine. Let's have a look.
I mean, it is delicious.
Pretty bloody good. I'm not lying here. That tastes good, right?
It's good that you don't really need anything else. You know, like no
That's
need
it.
for cherry, no need for.
But was there? I'm gonna have to look back at this this book and double check on that. But I don't remember there being a garnish.
No,
That's good.
tasty.
That's good, and it's price happy. I mean, we use martini vermouth, and we use because we broke the bottle of Balthazar.
But no, we gotta try with the best of the
Yeah.
because it's really interesting when it comes when it's more.
But I mean, Bullet's a like good price point to have as a house cocktail.
it's got all the spice
spirit.
of 95.
Yeah.
Right.
And you got these, and then the tiniest dash of that, and the tiniest, if you can get.
Somebody asked me, I
pecan.
was like, oh, has it been bottled in 95? You know, like distilled in 95. I was like, no, it's 95 years. It's really
Yeah.
vintage. I was like, oh, that's how much rye we do. Rye,
Right.
high on rye.
Now,
Shall we try the
let's
dry
try your
one?
recipe.
Yeah.
Now, when you here's a question: when you build a drink,
Yeah.
typically you're building a stirred down drink. Do you put the ice in and build over the ice, or do you build first, add ice, stir?
So I just have the habit of adding ice after, because
Yep.
that's how my risk assessment brain sees, like, whatever.
Risk assessment is such a good way to describe why you do that.
Because like a lot of things might happen, and
Yeah.
you have to like.
I always say I build it first. I haven't put the ice in, so you've like built everything without ice first, and then you could get called away. Someone could like break a glass and like hurt themselves, and you got to help them, right? And then at the last minute, ice, right?
But I think maybe there's like a fact because we love high volume.
Yeah.
And like.
Oh, what am I doing? I'm now contradicting my own self.
Yeah.
Right. So it's 30 bullet rye.
Yeah. 30 Belshazzar.
Woo.
So we've got the Indiana in there, and now we get a bit of Germany, Belshazzar. But I find it quite like sweeter.
Yeah.
Dry in a way.
For a dry one.
Yeah.
And how much pecan?
And I like 10 pecan and
10?
5. Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna have to consult my.
I'm a pecan lover.
my special Simon Difford jigger, of which I lost one on the weekend.
Just in the cabin.
Yeah, in the cabin. It fell off my little magnet wall and landed on the ground. And as I was entering back into the cabin, I stood on it and killed it. And it felt like I stood on like a pet or something.
You know,
I was actually
that reminds
devastated.
me of like my grandma once stomped in a 5.
5?
Yeah. I think asking is a great product, but for me it can be quite a lot.
Yeah, well, my dashes were tiny before, so
sometimes
mine would have been a little hint drier.
This is much drier, so then we get that balance of sweetness.
Okay, so you're bringing the balance back in by bringing more of the.
It's quite nice even when you play with the Maraska with the nation Croatian one.
Exactly, yeah.
But I mean, that's what I like about Brooklyn.
There's more to have.
Yeah,
more possibility for a variation.
And what Drink Lover Club, and then like there's the Williamsburg, and there's the Broken House, and like I think there's 3 variations of Brooklyn, even in Jim Manner's Money, for example.
Yeah.
The Red Hook.
Yeah, there's a lot actually, and the Green Point is kind of you could argue.
Literally, almost like as Brooklyn became a thing, every area of it became like no,
well,
it's us.
There's like it's kind of the Manhattan. Manhattan is such a good drink, especially when it's made right. That
I agree. That's why I'm wearing
sense.
this t-shirt.
Yeah, exactly. It makes perfect sense to have like little baby twists on it. The one thing I can never kind of nail down, and I mean Gaz called them duos and trios, is what do you call Manhattan and its variants? You know, like an old fashioned is an old fashioned. You know, an agave old fashioned is with tequila, but with Manhattans you've got Harvards and other twists become completely different drinks, but there's not a family name for them, you know, or not that I can think of. I was thinking about it a lot today. There needs to be a family, and I wanted to call them skyscrapers back in the day. Now, do you garnish? Or should we just try it so that
Let's try it as it is, because then we are consistent.
It's one of the things I'm very conscious of is the cherries I've got are in syrup, and on such a small drink you have to kind of wash them off.
And plus, this was like neat, and then we have an idea. Okay. Well, one thing I like about this is the color. Yeah,
it's darker. It definitely looks darker.
Because you know what I tend
to. How did it get darker? Oh, pecan. Yeah.
What I tend to do is like
it smells more
dark side of
it smells more amaro. It smells more like earthy aromatics.
And there's the power of pecan because it's got this earthy oranginess.
Yeah, I like that actually.
But this is more to shine the rye in a way, and it's more aperitivo in a way.
It's interesting because by all rule I don't really drink dry Manhattans, and I've had one perfect Manhattan. I've only ever made one perfect Manhattan in my life, and that was because I was on a live feed with Dale DeGroff, and I was like, "Any cocktails you like?" And he's like, "An almost perfect Manhattan," and I was like, "Okay." I was not going to argue with Dale DeGroff, and for that reason, it opened up my eyes to like, okay, you can put dry vermouth with.
There is a place for rye and dry.
Rye and dry is nice. It's amazing how well this actually balances in this spec. It's really nice.
I got to this spec because I like pecan so much.
Yeah.
And there's like a lot of affinity, like how the whole story of pecan unveiled, and because like pecan was made in North Africa.
Was it?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was like the French troop stations in Algeria got it as like a tasty malaria.
They started making it there.
That's where it started.
Is that why it's so hard to get?
Well, no, because then it got moved and made in Marseille.
Okay.
Because there's like I don't know, 1837, 87. So it's got like 175. I'm not really great with like calculating numbers.
Ages ago, before you were born.
Ago, yeah.
It's history. It's not, the dates don't matter unless you're in a test.
So it was like North Africa, and then they moved it to Marseille.
Okay.
And then in Tunisia, so like kind of the recipe changed, and the ABV changed, and accessibility changed through.
I need to learn more about pecan and why it's not available.
And there's so many other pecans.
My favorite's pecan bière, like having it with beer.
I had one yesterday. There's like this new place, Delight, in London, and they had pecan bière on the menu.
Do you know what I've just realised? I've never tried pecan bière with Guinness. I did. What happened? Was it good?
Well, there is actually another pecan. I don't know if it's available in the UK. It's called Pecan Club.
Yeah, I know that one.
Really good with Guinness.
It was really good with Guinness.
Yeah, because like my favorite boilermaker is rye with Pilsner pecan beer, but with Pilsner and bullet rye on the side. That's one of my favorite boilermakers.
This is delicious. Thank you very much. It's opened my eyes a little bit. Right, I think given that it's already been an hour.
Damn, time flies in the cabin.
Time flies.
And we never talk about our favorite bars.
We didn't get to, Oh, all right. Let me just, I have 10 more questions.
Oh, no.
All right, so I'm going to cut that, the
answers.
travel thing, favorite cocktail at the moment we got. Let's discuss it. Okay, right. This one's a good one. And we'll put it, right. So working with world class, you must see a lot of cool new drinks. Have you noticed any trends? Right, and you've got a 30-second timer. I'm going to time you. Right, so ready? We're going to be real quick so that people can go back to their daily lives. Okay, timer. 30 seconds. In 30 seconds, what have you seen at world class that you think is going to be like a trend? Ready?
Less technique, more purpose.
Okay.
Being driven by what was traditionally really working in markets. Like if you're in Peru, you might do something with like variation of chicha morada. The people are really, so like novelty but yet familiar. Like
twisting classics kind of thing.
In a way, but twisting street things, or I don't know, whatever people in Peckham used to like drink on the street in terms of like sweet tea or whatever. How do you work on that? And passion, which continues to be a massive trend.
Do you know what my favorite thing is? So you know the Drink Classics shirt, right? I want to make a shirt that says passion never goes out of fashion. Right? Because that's the one thing. Passion never goes out of fashion. Like it doesn't matter any decade, right? If you're like hiring bartenders, if I went back in time to the 80s and I was hiring bartenders, passionate bartenders, especially ones with an open mind, they're going to be good, right? Passion doesn't go out of fashion. Right.
So
one more question.
I would have these before
You're gonna mix them?
dinner and this after.
That's exactly what I thought.
Yeah.
That's their aperitif, like aperitivo.
More into the digestivo,
yeah, and that's after
and
dinner.
Maybe I would throw a cherry as well, and make this. Tiny, I'll have this in a goblet, and I would have this in like almost like a champagne.
I would have added a twist of lemon to that for the aroma, but I would have put a cherry with the first one. Yeah, that's exactly. I'm in the same boat. So that's how we're going to do it next time, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else, and the space station.
And
I'm so terrible. I've got to teach myself. All right. And what are some of your favorite bars you've been to? Are you ready?
No, don't time me. Come on. It doesn't
All right.
work like that.
We'll pass it.
If people,
I'm gonna make myself another Brooklyn. Oh, I might pour myself another Guinness. Do you mind?
Please do.
Yeah, I'm gonna finish with a Guinness to let it settle.
I think there's a lot of appreciation for like West Coast USA, to be honest.
Really?
So Portland is like the most unassuming cocktail city I've ever been in.
Okay.
Like how small it is. They just got like awesome bars. There's a bar called Palomar.
Okay.
Ricky Gomez, I think 2012, he was like the world class USA winner. And he's got this like pan-Cuban bar in Portland.
Okay.
Which is stunning, and like he's got for a long time just like loads of slushies and blenders, you know.
Oh, nice.
It's not about like I made this tincture and like talk to me about 20 minutes about your thing.
Yeah.
Like, taste, flavor, fruit, slushes, watermelon.
Yeah.
A lot of watermelon.
Yeah, watermelon's so hot right now.
I love
Watermelon and citrus.
It should always be hot because watermelon is delicious.
Watermelon is delicious, but I mean, like everyone's making watermelon variations. It could be partly because I've started making watermelon martinis again that I'm starting to see more watermelon. Like,
I love watermelon. I just put in. I think rye whiskey with watermelon is amazing.
I actually went through a phase where I made so many watermelon martinis that I started to like go at the smell of watermelon.
You know, I tried kind of a salty dog with watermelon.
Yeah, exactly.
Ooh.
Well, so I was making watermelon palomas and I was trying to nail it.
Yeah.
I was trying to nail like a watermelon paloma to the point that you can't spot the watermelon. It's just a paloma, and you're like, why is this paloma nice?
That's why I said we're not gonna. Have you been to Seattle?
No.
There's a place called Cannon.
No. Oh my God. So Cannon is like
4,000 plus bottles.
I'm
of whiskey
so upset.
I'm
so upset that
it's amazing.
I didn't go with Monkey Shoulder when you know I had an expense account, and that honestly when I was like leaving and I'm cutting up my final credit card, I was like, there's a couple of places I could have just gone and spanked it on some drinks with some bartenders, you know, like, and I mean, not to be negative or anything, but we took people out and showed them a good time and got them to drink Monkey Shoulder. It was like, that was what we did, and got to show them how versatile it was. But at the same time, to balance the equation, I'd buy them Lagavulin Distillers Edition. I'd buy them, like, I'd be like, try this. So they get to open up to whiskeys that normally the pockets are too deep. And we might take one shot and split it across four.
Book that's there that you can browse through, and Jamie Boudreau is like brilliant.
He's a brilliant.
And there's more whiskey in the toilet in the shelves
there
than most back bars.
Yeah, it's insane.
And so that's why I'm like, even in Poland, like I was so like, it's amazing to work on Bullet because he has these amazing, like Jeffrey Morgenthaler has Clyde Common in there, and it's just like good food, simple service.
I've been to Portland, and I've been to Clyde Common. I've been to a few different bars. My favorite bar in Portland was Double Dragon Bar.
Is there like kind of a tiki bar that I don't
know? It's a bar with like old school 80s Double Dragon like arcade games.
I mean,
and it's the most chilled out bar. It's just on the outskirts of town somewhere, but we went in there and the guys were super awesome. And it was like the staff were equally getting their job done and hanging out with us. You know, it was a quiet night. And they were acting as if they were like patrons just hanging out in the bar that happened to be there when we were there, but then would preempt if we needed something.
Okay, guess game. What do you think is my favorite bar in New York?
God, that's really scary.
I'm
actually just going to go with employees only.
Because I would say yours is McSorley's.
Oh my God! Do you know that's actually funny because I couldn't get into PDT for years. I went there so many times and I tried to get in.
Maybe you were in the wrong phone booth.
No, okay, but hear me out. I tried to just get in as if I'd walked in off the street as a normal person,
you did in Mahiki.
without anybody else, because and other people could have taken me. But like when I finally went, Don Lee took me through the back kitchen. It was no going to the phone booth. We went through the kitchen and like high-fived the chefs and stuff. And I'm like, oh, and that wasn't what I wanted. I wanted the first time to go as a normal guest, just sit down and absorb it and see, like, you know, when they don't know you and you haven't been introduced, what service do you get? So I did that a lot in New York.
Because it was just,
but you can't do that in New York. I found that out the hard way.
So
I used to drink in Bua all the time, and I absolutely fell in love with that bar. It's directly across the street, Bua. And there was a couple of wicked bartenders there, but it was more that I hadn't been able to get into anywhere. And I went into Bua.
Because that's my favorite.
Do you want to see something really interesting?
And I'm an Alex Day fan.
Do you want to see something really interesting? All right. I won't do it actually.
No,
I've got
so. Keep on time with the stream,
have we got 5? Have you got 5 minutes?
I mean, you can always edit and cut parts. Of like
this is live. You know it's live, right?
Yeah.
But
I'm just trying to give you ease.
So I have technically been to Death & Co when I've been taken with people, but I've also not gotten into Death and Co. so many
I mean,
times.
I love the book and I love Cocktail Codex as well. And it's just,
I love the books. I love the bar.
Yeah,
I love
Alex
the
is
bartenders.
launching a batching new book. Word on the street.
Is he?
Word on the street, yeah.
I can't
be
find
exciting.
the copy right now. Oh wait, maybe this is it. If this isn't it, there's another copy, because basically I started playing this game where I knew I would get denied by Death and Co. So I would go to Amore Amargo, like, you know, I'd go to the Amaro bar down the street and have a really nice day, nice time. And because I knew the Amaro bar down the street, if they said, yeah, you know, 45 minutes, I'd be in the Amaro bar down the street and I'd be like, guys, 45 minutes, I need to be right out the front of the door, like in 44 minutes. And they'd be like, we know them, we can just get you in. I'm like, no. Right? I'm going to do it like a normal person. And so many times we couldn't get in that I started like playing games with the bouncer. So this is a book that I bought, right? Because I got to the door and I got turned back. After the 45 minutes, I went back, bang on, 45 minutes. And I said, hey, you know, we were here 45 minutes ago. And it was to the minute, right? So I'm being a dick already. But the guy was like, nah, not tonight. Not tonight, we're full. And I was like, okay.
I think he just enjoyed not getting in.
Yeah, no, but I kind of enjoyed not getting in. I quite liked it. So then I said, hey, you know, I'm a bartender from London and I'm a massive fan of the bar. And that's why we've been waiting to try to get in. We don't know the guys, but like, could I buy a book and get it signed? And he was like,
get in, buy it.
And he's like, can this guy come in and just buy a book and get it signed? He's like a fan. And then they were like, yeah, but just him. So I was allowed in, but I was with two other guys, right? So
leave them outside?
I went in. I left them outside, and I went in, and the service like was empty. The servers came over and were like, here's a menu. And I'm like, no, I'm not allowed to buy a drink. I'm actually not in here. And they were like confused because they immediately started with good service. And the staff were a bit. So I got the book signed.
Time to move to New York.
I got the book signed just to take the piss a little bit.
I love how dark it is in there. And like, it's just,
yeah.
You know, it's just like a place that has this debauchery vibe to it.
I love it. Like, don't get me wrong, it's a great bar, but I had that whole not being able to get in thing. Because you have to be, I guess you have to be a regular, you have to build up.
Don't worry, we can go to Black Rock.
Yeah, I can get into places in London. It's a little bit easier. Like, I even got into Mahiki that time. That was.
I had to email.
Yeah. Well, look, cheers.
Cheers.
So thank you for anyone watching.
Yeah,
Sancha.
sorry we speak a lot. We are both South London people who enjoy.
Yeah, we're just
chatting in the
chilling out and chatting. We probably should have structured it a little bit more. I tried to structure it. I knew this would happen because we just get carried away chatting. We're both a bit hyperactive, I think.
Well, this is Jenna Ba and this was the Dean Callan show. It could have been better, but this is how we did it.
Right. So did we do it? Did we do it?
Remember to.
Oh no.
What, did we go kicked out of the live stream without saying bye?
What? I don't know. Like, but I'm just trying to see whether we split the E, and it's so out of focus.
Oh, okay, your focus was the E.
No, yeah.
Okay.
Anyway.
It's fine, mate.
See you later, everybody. And thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been loads of fun.
Thank you for Fresh Guinness.
Time for outro. Yeah, Fresh Guinness is the best.
You were good, kid, real good. But as long as I'm around, you'll always be second best, see?